What's up, everybody? Some of you have asked me about grooming at the dog park because I groom our boys myself. So I figured if you want to try yourself, I'd give you a little how-to, some grooming fundamentals 101, Scooter's idea. So he's not super overgrown, but we may take him to the beach this week, and if he's shorter, it'll be easier to clean him later. So what you'll need is basic clippers. We do it outside because it makes a mess. And we just have a hand-me-down from my sister when she used to groom the family dog. So we have this Andis clipper. Sit, Scooter. Sit. We have my box of tricks, a good comb set. Usually these clippers come with plastic combs. You're gonna want metal combs. They kind of work the hair up better. They get their mats better. You'll need a good wire brush. Also to get knots out. If you have a dematting rake, that's super. Also for knots, and probably some cooling spray because the blades can get hot. They're more likely to burn you than your dog because the combs protect them. And lastly, the blade itself. Usually these things come with a clipper number 10. And the 10 you usually use, it's a thicker cut, so you usually use it without a comb. And that's to get kind of the sanitary areas and some of the more sensitive spots. What you're gonna need for the combs is a 30. And the 30 is a closer cut and a truer cut to the length of the combs. So let's start the cut. This whole process doesn't take long. Scooter will take me anywhere from half an hour to 45 minutes. And what we're gonna do is he's sort of a medium curl, so I use a medium length to cut his body. If you have a dog with straighter hair, you can go with a longer length because the hair kind of lays flat. And if you have a dog with curlier hair, it tends to puff out, in which case you probably want to cut them a little shorter, and that will help avoid knotting and matting. And so we're gonna go with a medium length here, and I'm gonna go right in the middle with a 5/8 inch comb, which is a little short for Scooter, and which is exactly what I want to do. I want to go a little bit shorter this time than I normally do, just by one length. So when you cut, we're gonna start with, come here, Scooter. Don't fight me, just sit. Start with the collar, and we're gonna work from the collar to the tail all the way around the body. Just the body. Up, stand. Good boy. Okay, stay. Okay, so we did Scooter's body. If you can see the ground, this is why we do this outside. So we only did from the collar to the base of the tail and along the sides from the same distance on his body. And you want to move in one direction, because if you go back the other way, it'll cut it much shorter because you're going against the grain and it lifts the hair up. So, which is what we want to do for the legs, because the legs have a lot of curves and bumps. And if you try and go with the hair the way it grows, which is usually down, what happens is you end up with all kinds of uneven cuts. So we're gonna go from the ankle up to the to the shoulder and the hips on all four legs. Okay, we've encountered a knot. So one thing I forgot to mention when we started, you want to have your dog freshly bathed and blow dried before you try and cut them. And the reason for that is because that gets all the knots out. Because the combs from the clippers can easily get caught in the knots. So if you encounter a knot, you just stop, you get your dematting rake, try and hold the hair by the root so it doesn't hurt your dog. Just work through the knots a little bit. And that pulls out all of this knotty junk. And then once you have that done, Scooter, stay, then the clipper should just work right through the hair. One thing to keep in mind with the front paws is the dew claw. I keep my index finger on top of the dew claw and hold it down so that the clipper doesn't get stuck under his thumb and hurt him. So if you just hold that dew claw with your index finger, you can work all the way around it and not have to worry about it. All right, so now that we've got the legs all done, what we're gonna do is basically blend the leg to the hip and to the shoulder by going down from that point, and that will even it out lengthwise. Just right at the top. Blend it down the backside, and then go kind of around the base of the tail a little bit like this. And this blends your upward motion length to your downward motion length. And don't worry about in between the legs over here, because we're gonna get there later with the shorter comb when we do the sanitary areas. Okay, and something hugely important to note. There's a couple of spots on your dog that are so skinny that the skin can fit in between the tines of the comb. And that's usually, here, Scooter, this spot right here. There's this extra skin here, which is so thin, and I've accidentally done it and given him a little razor burn. And under the front armpit as well, it can get a little skinny. So what we're gonna do later is we're gonna take the comb completely off, and we're just gonna freehand that area and not touch the skin. And it's actually better than trusting the comb, because that's how they end up with razor burns. So when we do it, we're just gonna kinda lightly go against the hair that's sticking up in these areas. Scooter, come here, come here. And we've all done this with the same comb so far. It's been one length the whole time. Sit. Now we're gonna blend the front legs, the shoulders, to the chest by working from the neck down. Really, you can go all the way to the ear, because the hair under the ear isn't seen. That tends to get the most knotted anyway. No. Sit. Scooter, sit. Scooter, sit. Good boy. So all this hair under here can get real short, because this is the hair that tends to get knots that you often tend to miss when you're brushing. So I do this area on the side under the ear the same as the rest of the body. We're just gonna work our way down into the leg a little bit, all the way through the chest. Okay, so now we've got his body and his legs all done. Stay, you're not done. His body and his legs are done. So now we're gonna do some detailing. So with paws, this is sort of a subjective, however you like it kind of thing, but I use a one comb longer on his paws than on his legs and body. And the reason for that is because I think he looks cute with like big mitts. Some people I know like to shave their doodles' paws because they step in the mud a lot and they get a lot of dirt. We're pretty good about giving them like a little foot bath every time we go to the park. So we're okay leaving them a little longer. So I'm gonna do that. Get the comb set. And I'm gonna go, I was using the 5/8 inch. So now I'm gonna switch to the 3/4 inch, which is just one length longer. And I'm just gonna lift each paw, and I'm gonna do the same thing I did before, go from the toes back towards the ankle. You wanna go up the hair. Although really you can kind of go in both directions because you're not gonna get it any shorter going the other way, so. Okay, good boy. Sit. Sit. Sit, sit, sit. Sit. Good boy. Now do front paws. Now again, with the front paws, keep that index finger on the dew claw, especially if you're going up, because like I said, you don't want to catch his thumb. So I got my finger on the dew claw as I work right up the side where the dew claw is. So his paws are a little shaggy on the ends now after going up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the comb off, and just using the clipper, I'm gonna go around the outside, kind of towards the underside, and just round out that paw to give it a nice round sort of bunny foot shape. You see I'm kind of working underneath a little bit because that's where a lot of that jagged hair sticks out from. Good boy. And now you can do this to their back legs while they're standing. You can just leave their back paws on the ground, and it's actually easier to just kind of go around the outsides. Just Scooter, stay. Don't move. Don't move your foot. Okay. And now that we finished paws, legs, etc., we're gonna do his noggin. So to get that pretty standard doodle look, I take the very longest comb to do up here, the top of his head, keep that kind of poofy look. So like I said, if you have a much curlier dog, you may want to go a little bit shorter. Scooter, sit. All right, friend, don't sit. Okay. So from here, we're just gonna start at his brow and go back all the way around, right to the top of the ear. Sit, you gotta sit. Okay, good boy. Look at me. And just be real careful of the eyes, obviously. Good boy. Okay, all right, you're fine. Okay, so now we've got the top of his head done. So what we're gonna do, Scooter, sit, just sit, is we're gonna basically cut from the top of his head down in front of the ear with the same long length comb. And what that's gonna do is blend into the mustache, which I never cut. Because it seems like once it got to a certain length, it just stopped growing. And then I use, when we brush him from time to time, I just use the dematting rake and I work that through the mustache. And what that does is gets all the knots and stuff out from time to time, keeps the mustache laying flat, and it's at the perfect length. I've never needed to cut it, ever. And the same goes for the tail. I never cut the tail either. So, but the side part we gotta get. So we're gonna, come here. Keep the ear laying flat so you know where you're going. You just work straight down the side, like that. Like so. We're gonna do the same on the other side. Okay, now we're all done except for the sanitary areas. So this is where I'm gonna put on the shortest comb, which is a 1/8 inch. And what I'm gonna do here, because it's such a short comb and we've been using the clippers for a long time, I'm gonna use that cooling spray just to make sure the blades are nice and cool. You just spray that over the whole thing. And this will help keep your blade nice and lubricated as well. So I'm gonna start with his backside, right under the tail, because you all know what it's like when you get a little something stuck under there. How pleasant that is to clean out. So if you keep that hair real short right around the backside, that won't happen. And we're gonna go just downward. I go under the tail a little bit here. Make sure the hair is all nice and short. Okay, and now we're gonna get those other sanitary areas, and I found the best way to do this is with a trust fall maneuver. So Scooter, sit. So what we do, we're gonna keep everything very close by in case we need it, because we're not gonna be able to get up for a second. I sit Scooter down, sit around him. He knows what's coming. No. Sit. I just grab him by the chest and lean him back. Good boy, Scooter. And now I've got access to all of this. Yuck. And with that super short length, we're gonna get this area kind of in between the legs. And we're gonna get it on the belly, around his man parts. We want this area nice and short. So he doesn't pee on himself. So I kind of work in this area like where his other man parts used to be. And I keep that super close cut into the inside of the leg. You want that pretty close, because again, that's where he tends to pee on himself. Now while I have him here, I can go back and use this length that we were using for the body, and I can finish off his pits and his chest, and get to those areas I couldn't get when he was standing or sitting. And, oh, his beard. I almost forgot his beard. Same thing. I use the longest length comb at the top as I use under his chin. I never touch the mustache like I said. So here, let's turn around. Let's turn around. Sit. Sit. Good boy. And just start at the lip and blend into the neck. All right. Let me see. Stand up. And that's pretty much it. Now he's done. Right, Scoots? You feel handsome? Show him how handsome you are. So, he may have a little hair stuck in there, so I'll just brush all that out. And I'll tell you, we have two dogs, Scooter and Gonzo. Between the two of them, you figure cost of a grooming and a tip and everything is about $100 to $125. We would do it 4 times a year. It's $500 per dog. So we were spending $1,000 a year in grooming. And this saves us all of that. And all of the equipment I bought is the cost of maybe 2 groomings, maybe 3 at the most. And then it pays for itself. And the other benefit is that we can keep them because we can do it more often. Because like I said, this whole thing only takes me, I don't know, the counter is missing. It's probably took me 45 minutes. We can, all right, shake it out. We can keep them at exactly the length that we want, because normally, because you're trying to save money, it's hard to get an appointment, it's inconvenient to drive them and drop them off. What happens is, you go to the groomer, you ask them to cut your dog super short so it lasts longer, and then they look silly because they're too short. And then after they get to the length you want, you enjoy it for a little bit, and then they get too long. And then it's time to go back to the groomer again. So for only a third of the year, they look the way you want them to look. By doing it this way, they look exactly the way you want them to look all the time. Scooter, come back. All right, I'm brushing his butt and his tail. And like I said, I never cut the tail. I just use that dematting rake and I get the knots out, and that helps keep it a little thinner. And I never cut his mustache. And other than that, oh, and I don't really cut his ears either. At least not down the tops. I just do trim the bottoms with scissors. Keep that a nice length. Scooter, come back. Come here. Come here. And now we have a handsome bear. Right? Show him how handsome you are. Show him how handsome you are. Show him how handsome. And that's all there is to it. So I would definitely recommend giving this a try yourself. Do it outside, because as you can see, it makes a tremendous mess. And then I just sweep it up, or let the wind get whatever I don't get with the broom, and that's it. So I hope this encouraged you to try it yourself. Okay, say bye. Wait. Say bye.